Today I'm going to discuss my thoughts on the recent events ongoing at FC Edinburgh. Now FC Edinburgh were of course Edinburgh City. They beat my team Annan Athletic in the playoff final just not that long ago actually, and they seem to be on the up. They seem to be I've had a good relationship with their supporters, which was seen when a lot of them actually joined the team on the pitch. They managed to take quite a decent number down here at Annan for that game, and as a club I think they were moving in a good direction. They came up from the Lowland League a few seasons before, obviously became quite a strong non-league side. It started off not so good in Scottish League 2, but they got together and maybe weren't really strong this season in regards to they had a change of manager, and maybe I think they just managed to get into fourth, that playoff spot, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. As long as you get in the playoffs, you've still got a good chance. And yep, they're doing really well. They had recently just had a rebranding about 4 years ago, which I'll absolutely love the logo. I'm going to bring it up here. It was quite a beautiful logo. It was it reminded me a lot of the Man City logo, so it's like they're part of the City group, especially when they're called Edinburgh City FC. And yeah, it was such a beautiful logo, and just the videos they made and the branding and the kits and everything, they were so professional. They moved sort of forward in a way, I think, and they were just like so appealing, and you could tell that they were a club from the capital, even though they're the third biggest club in Edinburgh, obviously behind Hibs and Hearts, but the biggest one carrying the actual Edinburgh name in regards to association football. So yeah, they were doing really well. Obviously it's always tough to play them as an Annan supporter, always tough going up to their games. Obviously they're going to share with Spartans this season, and coming to Annan, they were quite difficult to beat as well. So always going well for them. Obviously they were looking to get back into their spiritual home of Meadowbank Stadium. It's like an athletic stadium, so it's getting really done up into like a proper a proper lower league football team ground. And they were looking to get back there. Going shame obviously with Spartans across the city. Don't think it was too ideal for them, and their supporters, and obviously they were playing Friday night games, which we'll get onto as something that from the outside looking in, I suppose a lot of supporters actually did warm to the fact, but a lot of supporters missed out because that traditional 3 PM Saturday kickoff was just taken away from them, home games for them. But a lot of fans did like the wee experiment and stuff. But so they were at Spartans, of course, with Spartans, and they're looking to move back this season. They just got promoted to Scottish League 1, a massive achievement for the club. And the supporters, and always looking well for them going into the new season, I think. Obviously as an Annan fan I was absolutely gutted, and a bit of, obviously not hate, but a bit of a bit jealousy, because obviously we were, well, a bit before my time, but we were both rivals in the old East of Scotland League, and then became rivals in League 2 and stuff. And it was just quite bitter, quite annoying, because we came back in that second leg to draw, and then Ennis Murray, my dog's called Murray, and he scored in the first leg and the second, on loan from Hibs, now signed for the club, and he just scored that wonder goal screamer. And their goalkeeper on loan from Hibs, Brian Schwake, the American, was outstanding on that game. And obviously he's at loan at Greenock Morton for this coming season, and he was just outstanding. But getting on to what's actually happened at the club, and obviously the club were good at what they did in regards to, they put a big hour-long interview. I didn't watch it all, but some of the main points. An hour-long interview with the chairman just last week or this week, which is only a few days ago now, and basically outlined all the facts, which was good, because a lot of clubs wouldn't do that. But what really gets me, and even as an outsider, what annoys me as a lower league Scottish football supporter, is that they didn't consult the fans on a lot of the issues. Now there's a lot of issues going on at that club at the moment, and a lot of things has happened recently that I was unaware of, and it's made the whole Scottish football world just aware of these issues of what's happening at the club. Obviously they're in their best ever, going to have their highest ever campaign, if playing at the highest level they've ever played at in the third tier of Scottish football. They can't get back into their stadium at Meadowbank yet, which is obviously really, really difficult. I'm not actually too sure where they'll be playing. I don't know if it's still Spartans are going to be playing at the start of this campaign. I'm not too sure because I didn't watch the whole interview, and to be honest with you, there's just so much to basically get through. So I mean, it's just so annoying if you're an Edinburgh City supporter, especially if you live near to the spiritual home of Meadowbank. You've got to travel, I think it's all the way up to North Edinburgh to Spartans, which is a very cold stadium. I wouldn't say it's soulless, it's more of a community pitch. Obviously, I would say it's more of a community hub rather than a football stadium in regards to that. I mean, it's still a decent football stadium, but if you're not the home team, I mean, Meadowbank, I've been there and it is special. Obviously it's going to be completely different now. I think the main stand's been taken down. There's been talk of a temporary stand being put up at the new stadium, or even a permanent stand, but which can be moved. There's so many issues going on in that club at the moment, and just talking about the stadium basically. Yeah, I don't know what's happening there. Just seems to be basically, I feel sorry for the club in this regard, because in this aspect of the issues that's going on at the club, because the stadium is out with their control. Basically it's down to the council, which they say they have a good relationship with, but there's some difficulties there. And the leisure centre, I think, which is obviously, I think is going to be, it's like, in my eyes, I think it's going to be something like Broadwood, where they've got that leisure centre. Obviously it's like the council use it, or in this case Edinburgh Leisure, and then they've got the stadium as well, so it's going to be like a community hub, a bit of a leisure centre, kind of modernish small football stadium. And yeah, in regards to that, there's just so many issues going on with Edinburgh Leisure. I think the Edinburgh City chairman, or now FC Edinburgh of course as they're called, chairman, basically said they've not got a good relationship with the leisure centre or somebody at it. Basically, I think that the Edinburgh City or FC Edinburgh rather, think that the people at the leisure centre think that FC Edinburgh are not a professional football team or a semi-pro team. And basically they're saying that, okay, we were not ready, we were taking our time with this, but it's okay because you're just an amateur team that's not really bothered, or you can just find somewhere else where to play. But FC Edinburgh are a semi-pro team that play in the SPFL. There's demands, there's obviously rules you've got to, so like it's a professional league. They've got to abide by the SPFL rules. They can't keep chopping and changing and deciding what's happening, or you can't just say we're not playing fixtures, and if they can't play it there, they've got to play a lot of away games. It's got to be done in advance. There's got to be much negotiations, and they've got to get cleared and everything, you know what I mean? And it's the same with the youth teams and the women teams as well. So it seems like the club have lost like a lot of, or it's quite difficult for the club, so I do feel quite sorry for the club in that respect. And yeah, it's just becoming quite a nightmare. I think obviously it's not just two sides to it. There seems to be three or even more sides to it. So it's quite difficult from that. And there's talk of, like, with this new stadium, there's obviously going to be a leisure centre, and there's going to be other aspects of it. And I think there's going to be some property built on it. And there's talk about when the property needs to be built. There's talk about that stand that I mentioned before, that it's going to be moved. Or it's like we're just going to build a stand and then remove it. Move it to another, like, out the way and then back in again. And like, I've seen pictures of Meadowbank. It's just a small stadium. Like, there's nothing really to it. Obviously, there's been lack of updates of that, and fans are just not happy. And I can't really relate, but I can understand of what it's like, sort of. Because Anna's a really good club stadium, and obviously, well, in the community, and we've not got that, the issues that they've got. And yeah, I mean, I just feel sorry for the club in that respect, and I understand that that's just so like frustrating. And I think that they were going to, basically, there's a lot they were planning the men's team are planning on getting a glamour friendly with Hibs, obviously Edinburgh rivals, well, a bigger Edinburgh club. I think they're more at that end of the city for them, and it's cost of, like, I don't know how much, but they're talking like £25,000 and not £100,000 for basically losing all this revenue. It's going to be lost over all the things that's meant to be happening with the days and that, the fun days at the club. It actually just seems ridiculous. I mean, yeah, just can't put it into words. Just as an outsider looking in, there's just a lot of stuff, a lot of bizarre stuff going on. I mean, as I said, that game with Hibs was going to be big game back, and they've had to cancel it basically. And I think they actually agree a lot of things with Hibs, that Hibs are going to play their first team players. They were going to, like, bring quite a good. They're actually going to give their tickets that they sold for the away fans to Edinburgh City, FC Edinburgh. I'm getting the name all wrong all the time. I didn't know it's going to really get used to. Just as well, just like to say in this video, sorry if I'm a bit like repeating myself or a bit stop-starty, but it's just because I'm outside and just stopping for different people going past, and obviously you don't want to record when people are going past. But yeah, I mean, there's actually going to be a special kit as well that they've obviously spent a lot of money in for the new club after the new change coming back to Meadowbank. That's obviously right out the window. They're going to still release the kit, but it just takes away the specialness of it, if that's the word. Now moving on to what has caused probably the most controversy across social media basically, and even with me and outsiders and basically a lot of people in Scottish football, is the complete rebrand of the club. I mean, City fans seen this coming. They knew something. I think they knew something was up, of course, and the day before they officially changed their official name. I couldn't tell you what that was, but it was like on the, like, if you go in like the government, I think it's like if you look at companies, company house or whatever. But obviously the actual name of the club it's not like the same name as the company. But the next day, that Friday, I think, on Friday, they didn't even announce the name change. They announced it in the video, but not as a separate thing, and changed the socials. And yeah, I mean, of course it was Edinburgh City. So the thing was, they didn't actually own the name Edinburgh City. It's quite complicated because Edinburgh City was formed, I think, in 1928, the original club. But this Edinburgh City actually comes from, I think, Postal United, and they had Meadowbank, Thistle. I'm not too sure. I mean, I've read about it, but I've not got like the details in front of me to basically say everything. But yeah, I mean, the social club, I think, took the name from the original club, and then when the current football team changed its name, the social club actually had that name legally, and they said it wasn't too much of an issue when they were non-league, but as they've got League 2, and the club said it was in the back of their minds, and as they've grown, they said that they don't want to take that risk because it could come into a legal dispute with the social club in terms of their legal name. Now, I think, when I look at all that, I think that's quite embarrassing, I think, for the semi-pro club in Scotland basically getting bullied by a social club, which I imagine is just a local pub. I don't know, but it's quite embarrassing, I think. I mean, what message does that send out? I mean, and you've not even got the legal name of the club. I mean, they should have sorted that out ages ago, if that is the case. And yeah, it's all this faff and stuff. I mean, if they have to change it and it's going to cost them a lot of money, then fair enough. But at least consult the fans. That is the biggest thing that the fans were really, and why the Scottish football was basically annoyed at, because they didn't consult the fans. And their excuse was, well, we don't have enough time, the SPFL takes ages, or whoever takes ages, so we're just going to change it. But they could have basically called an emergency meeting with fans, basically even if it was a night a couple of hours and basically said, look, we need to get a name, we need to vote on it tonight. I mean, it's not ideal, but we want the fans and we need the fans to help. There's going to be a lot of disagreement, but we need to get it done tonight. Just work together with a club, just work together and get it done. But they didn't. They just went ahead and changed the name to FC Edinburgh. Now FC Edinburgh, it's a lot of people don't like the name because it sounds too continental, but for me, it's not the name in a way that's the issue here. It's just the fact that they changed it without consulting the fans. And if it was just a new team, FC Edinburgh would be good. I think it would be a good name, but the fact that they're dropping the city part, they're losing the identity, it's not Edinburgh City for me, and changing it to FC Edinburgh is just not right. And I mean, they changed the social medias as well, so they changed the social media handles. Someone's went and nabbed up. I think I kind of helped. I kind of told someone to nab up the old handles before they could change it back, and I think someone did, so that's my fault. I take full responsibility for that. But on Twitter, just at Edinburgh City FC, the old handle, but just not consulting the fans is a big no-no for me, and it's just so poor from the club. They said they actually had a good relationship with the social club, and they did try and negotiate with them, but in the end, like, it broke down. The relationship between the football club and the social club broke down. And I mean, I don't really know, because I don't know what's happening with like all these teams and the women's team. I mean, the women's team and these teams are mainly with the actual club, but there's a lot of, I'm not really too sure, but maybe the social club's linked anyway with that football club. Obviously the only thing I can really compare it with is Annan Athletic, because the social club is, the football club is, I don't really know this football, I don't know how it works or anything, but from lower league clubs with social clubs and stuff. I even think that the SPFL clubs are not allowed to be funded by a social club, so if I'm getting that right. I read that somewhere, but it's just bizarre as well. I mean, like, non-league clubs have so much money because they're funded by social clubs. I don't know. Just heard that somewhere, if that's a rumour or anything, but yeah, I mean, it's just quite bizarre and strange. I mean, they just had to change their name, so they're going to leave with basically their social club. And yeah, I said, like, the Edinburgh name. I mean, a lot of people have been saying that nobody calls it Edinburgh, but Sky call the club Edinburgh City, and me and a lot of people called Edinburgh City Edinburgh. But I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is changing the name and losing the city. But you can still call the club, you can still call Edinburgh City just Edinburgh, and it will still be Edinburgh City. But when you actually change the full club title to FC Edinburgh and call it Edinburgh, it's not Edinburgh City, because it doesn't have that city in its original name. It's like the same with Annan Athletic. You can drop Athletic when you just refer to them as Annan, but they're still Annan Athletic. They've not dropped the Annan. They're not just Annan FC, which was a club, by the way, who played in the Scottish Cup in 1878 to about 1890, or pardon me if I'm getting that wrong. I've just thrown that in from wee local history, but yeah, just I mean, it's just quite a strange, bizarre one, and just a lot of people pointed out that you don't really see name changes in obviously higher up football. We've seen obviously Open Goal, Broomhill, but that's another story. We could get onto that. I'm not sure if I'm going to make a video about that, but yeah, that's quite a strange one too, especially when they took Clydesdale Stadium. But going back to FC Edinburgh, it's just like, the fans are really not happy. I mean, I've seen a lot of them just basically gave up already, and they're wanting to attract new fans. They should be looking after the ones they've got, because they haven't got many. I'm just saying this rant off the top of my head, so forgive me if I miss anything, or I might realise later on that I've missed a key bit of information, but yeah. So I think it's time to talk about basically the rebranding of the badge, which as a graphic designer has really annoyed me. Even the guy that designed the badge is pissed off, because basically he's saying that they put so much time and effort into it, and I loved it, even though it looked a bit like Man City, and because of Edinburgh City, it looked like the part of the City group, but I loved it, just loved everything about it. Just the colours as well, worked so well, and that's their identity that they had. But now that they changed to FC Edinburgh, they've took a lot of people say it's a really amateurish logo. They've took the castle, I think they've took the castle out the middle, and the star that obviously has so much meaning, which of course is good. And that, a lot of people could say that's like a secondary logo, an alternate logo, but not as a first logo. I mean, the castle itself is good, but it's just missing something as well. And then what they've done at the bottom, they've got this weird font and put 1928 at the bottom. If you can hear Muddy, my dog, sneezing, that's because we're out a walk. Battery's going to go out, so I have to finish the rest at home. But yeah, they put this weird font at the bottom, and even they put it on their socials. You can't even, they're so amateurish, and the lowest of the low amateur, you can't even fit the whole badge in the bloody circle. It's really annoying. It's so amateur. I don't know who's on their socials, because their socials were absolutely amazing. Maybe the social guys left because yeah, it's absolutely appalling. And a lot of people saying that been annoying, getting annoyed because of the club. They've got the founding date of 1928. They actually put that in the handle. They're saying that that's the original club, and this is actually Edinburgh City FC, or FC Edinburgh is from obviously Edinburgh City. That's actually was Postal United, formed in 1966, and they actually the club's actually removed that from the handle. So they changed that handle twice in the last week or so. So if you want to get on the FC Edinburgh 1928 handle, you can get on that now. Yeah, so it's just really annoying, I think. It's a really step down, a really poor. The fans really are I can't see any positive comments on Twitter about the new club. I just can't see any. And then getting onto the kits as well. I mean, a lot of people are saying they actually like the logo on, because that could actually help the logo. So far the mock-ups I've seen of the kits are not good. They're poor, they're very poor kits. But I've said this with other kits, including even the Man United one from last year and even this year. I don't know if it's actually been announced yet, but I don't like them. But see, when you actually get them on a match or get someone to model them, they just that's when you judge them, but not when they're like just like basically a computer mock-up or whatever, like, because they could be poorly done. Computer mock-ups can be really well done or really poor done, but when you actually physically see them, that's when you should judge them. Yeah, so I think that's it. Basically covered most of the things that, there's other things as well in that video, but these are the things that really brought to mind what I really care about most. There's obviously people who have actually supported the club, or have supported the club and not supported the club anymore, will really care about other issues, but these are these are the things that I look out for that basically concern me, or that I've got an opinion on as an outsider. I just wish that the fans can the club can just realise and maybe go back to the fans and change it a bit. I've seen a lot of names ring about. Edinburgh Citizens was a really good name. It's still called Edinburgh City, it's just a longer version of Citizens, but technically it's a different name. Some Meadowbank ones nipped in there, but I think you've really just got to go with the Citizens vibe again. Can't really think of anything else to add. That any other thoughts that I have on the club at this moment in time. If I do, I'll make sure to add them in the video. Make sure you comment down below your opinions if you're a Edinburgh City FC Edinburgh fan. Obviously we've not seen any positive ones, so just hit them up and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. And if you do like the videos like this, please let me know and I can do that for you, because I like doing these talks. That's Muddy Barkin, so I better get to play, so see ya, bye. There's also worth mentioning, just to add, that there's one guy that supports Edinburgh City, right, and I've spoke to him on Twitter a few times. I've seen him at the game, the playoff game. Didn't speak to him, but he's on the pitch celebrating with the fans. He organised the supporters buses for many of the games towards the end of the season. He organised the supporters buses for the Annan game, and I've just seen that he's not supporting the club and he's walking away. Now Edinburgh City, that's just one fan. Now I don't care if he's the only fan, right? But, and there are many more, but that's one fan that's he spent a lot of money on merchandise as well with City on it, and you've just changed the club without consulting him. Not just one guy. Now, times that by I don't know how many more. You're letting your fans down, and if you hear this, change it back or do something, because it's disrespectful to the supporters of Scottish football that put their money into the clubs that they put their heart and soul for. He loves the club, and now he's walking away because of what you've done, because you've just destroyed your own identity, and other clubs can see right through it, and they're going to take the piss out of you. And you had good fans, you had kids that maybe they weren't behaving themselves as well, but they were giving a good go, and they were becoming a club to look out for, and they're doing well, of course, coming up from the Lowland League, like Kelly and Cove, obviously from Highland, but one of the from the Lowland, making a name for themselves in Scottish football. I know you want your Edinburgh brand, but you did have your Edinburgh brand in City, and now you've just made it worse. And yeah, as an Annan fan, I actually liked your club, but not anymore.